Yeah, no problem.
Did you see the video show up for a second?
No.
Or the camera? I saw Jenny
I haven't.
a minute for 3 seconds.
Okay.
Just try.
Everybody look on their laptops and try to hit their video and see if they can start their own video, because it's not letting us start everybody's video. I think you have to do it on your own computer.
Saying that the video can't be started because the host has stopped it.
It's on your it's on your end, Jenny.
Well, it shows it's going. Let me stop it and start it again. Now what's it saying?
Now we totally out.
No, I'm
It
there.
went blank for a minute, but now we have the black squares back, the tiles.
Can you see me?
I see
Yeah.
you.
Yes,
But you can't see anybody else.
No. Makes me feel better.
I can see you, Jenny, but everything else is black on the screen.
Okay, Kevin's helping me now trying to figure out how to get the video going for everybody.
Aren't we glad we have Kevin to help us with this?
Yeah,
Oh, Lord, yes.
there's Kevin.
Oh God, don't look at me. Bye-bye.
Start video. Yep. Okay.
All right. Look at that.
Okay, unmute everybody, so. Or, well, I guess let them individually unmute.
Yeah, I would.
Are you bringing us up or should I do something?
Hit your video.
Do now.
I did.
You started your video?
Yeah, it went to you. There I am. Okay. No?
See everybody but Commissioner Jones.
Do you see Folds, Walker, and Maltby 2 times?
Yeah,
just
I know.
one?
I just see you once. I
Okay.
see both of you together.
It's the weirdest thing.
Hmm.
It is weird. I'm hitting video, and I'm getting the little screen.
Does that need to undo?
No, that's your video.
Oh,
I like your background, Nancy.
can you unclick that?
Yeah.
Start video, ask to start video. Okay, I sent you a message to start the video.
Ah, there I am.
There you
There
go.
you are.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're good. So now we can start. You'll, okay.
All right, we good, Jenny?
Yes, sir, we're good.
All right, we'll get started.
All right.
We're gonna see how this goes first time. As I look at all these pictures, I see just one young man, most are senior citizens. So we're gonna work
I
through
don't know
this.
that Scott's got there yet either.
Who?
That's right.
That's a blessing. That's a
Scott
blessing.
Walker.
Oh, Scott Walker. Oh, I thought you
Nor
meant the other
is
Scott.
Nancy. I don't imagine Nancy is.
Yes. Okay, we'll get started. And Scott, anything you might be reading off, kind of tell what page number, because I'm kind of trying to use my computer at the same time and looking at my documents here.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
I'm doing the very same thing.
Yeah, so anyone else that have any documents, kind of tell them what page you're on, and then we can kind of see where you are.
Okay.
Will that work? All right. So we'll get started with this City Commissioner teleconference meeting, April the 23rd at 6:40. Okay, let's open with a word of prayer, and then following that, we have the roll call. Let's pray. Most gracious God, we give you thanks for yet another wonderful day. And God, we see all this going on in this country, around the world, God, but we know, God, that you're able to do all things. So God, just continue to just bless us and just help us through all of this, Lord, and just touch the hearts of people, God, that they'll do us right, God, and keep everyone healthy, God, because we know this too shall pass. We work together to get this done. And we just thank you for how you have blessed the city of High Spring, that you're going to continue to bless the city of High Spring. We just ask you just bless us with wills of knowledge and understanding that we can do things that's be best for everyone. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Man.
All right. Ms. Jenny, roll call, please, ma'am.
Mayor Williams,
I'm here.
Vice Mayor James,
Here.
Commissioner Jameson,
Here.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Lavin,
Here.
all present.
All right. Thank you. So do we need to let be recognized everyone else that's attending the meeting, Jenny?
I don't believe so. Everybody, all staff is here showing, but when somebody wants to speak, I'll transfer them over
Okay.
so they can speak.
All
Do we
right.
say raise our hand?
You can raise your hand and the mayor can see you and then he can acknowledge you.
Okay.
Okay.
There is, Mr. Mayor, there is a raise your hand function on this. I'm not sure how to do that. So everybody, oh, I see it now. I see the raise your hand function. I'm gonna mash the raise the hand function just so you see it on mine. And Mr. Mayor, do you see that I'm raising my hand?
No.
Oh, I do. Yes. You
Yeah,
have a
anybody.
blue
Yeah.
hand up in the corner.
Since Jenny's
hand
the
in the corner.
administrator, you're
Where?
gonna see.
Oh,
So-
I can. So just Jenny must see it because she's the host.
I think so.
Just raised our hand.
No.
Hey.
That works.
Yeah, we know how to do that.
Commissioner Jameson, you're old school.
Just,
I'm so impressed with Miss Commissioner Jameson being on here.
this is a major accomplishment.
Yes, indeed.
This is
Your
why-
wife
Not for-
there?
If not for my flip phone, I'd have never been able to get on.
Yeah. I was about to say, maybe you might get a smartphone now.
Easy, Byron. Keep it civil now.
All right, this time I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. So I guess everyone have a copy.
Yes.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second in discussion, and the changes need to be done. Okay, hearing none. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All disapprove, same sign. Okay, motion carries. At this time, we entertain a motion for the approval for the minutes of March the 12th, 2020 Commissioner meeting and March 13, 2020 emergency meeting.
I move that we approve minutes of the March 12th, 2020 commission meeting and the March 13th, 2020 emergency meeting.
Jenny, have you changed it so it reflects that I was present on March
Yes.
12th? Okay,
Yes,
so
we
I'll
did. Okay.
second that with the correction.
Any other corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same signs. Motion carries. Okay, next, the presentation of the draft economic development. Now, who's going to present that, Jenny?
I believe Allison and at least I'm transferring them over now, so.
Okay, so we don't have anything in writing.
No, they're going to show a PowerPoint.
Okay, oh boy, technology.
Hello, everyone. Just give me one
Hi.
second to
Hello.
get this started. How is everyone?
We're doing good.
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 All right. Let's get it started.
Hello,
here.
everybody.
Oh,
There's Allison.
Hi.
Hi. Oh
Hello.
dear.
oh my. No.
Okay. Well, all right. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so we can get going with the PowerPoint. So I want to thank everybody that participated in this activity, the Competitive Florida Partnership Program. I think it turned out very well. Can you guys all see my screen?
Yes.
Something
Yes.
happened.
Yes.
You can see the PowerPoint? Okay.
Yes.
So I think everybody on the call is familiar with the Competitive Florida Partnership Grant. If not, hold on, I'm not moving forward for some reason. 1 second. So the Competitive Florida Partnership Grant is through the Department of Economic Opportunity, and they give grants up to $40,000 to pay for a economic development. And then this year they just started a disaster resiliency plan portion to this strategy, to this plan. So today we're going to go over the recap of our community meetings, number 1 and 2. We're going to go over our review of the final vision that we came up with throughout the community meetings. We're going to overview the asset mapping exercise, and we're going to actually go over, as you all, I think you should have gotten an email with the draft plan with everything going on. The state took a little while to get us back comments on the draft plan that we've had. So we are going to ask that commissioners, if you could kindly get us comments back from that plan, the draft economic development and disaster resiliency plan, to us by Monday or the end of Tuesday. End of Monday, beginning of Tuesday next week. And then we'll go over, since we couldn't have it available to everybody, we are going to go over it in the PowerPoint, the key points of each part of the plan. So project guidance, I think you should all be familiar with everybody, except nobody's got to see Brian yet because he's behind the scenes. We have me, Amanda Lunday, and Allison McGrath. And also Josh Askey, who is the program manager from DEO. I think quite a few of you got to meet him when we did the asset mapping exercise. Okay, Competitive Florida Partnership Program goal to help Florida communities find creative solutions to foster vibrant, healthy communities while protecting the functions of important state resources and facilities. So this is our 4th community meeting, and the next one will be on May 14th, and it will be the adoption of your economic development and disaster resiliency plan. So recap of community 1. We went over what you all thought about High Springs today, what you all would like to see for the future of High Springs. Kind of got a feel, we got a lot of great feedback, and from that, we took those comments and made a draft vision for you all and brought it to you at community meeting number 2. Some of the comments that we got was High Springs needs affordable housing. We need to promote the city's history. There is such an abundant amount of history within High Springs that it really needs to be shown and shown off. And it could be a great asset. And I think you guys could bring a lot of economic development by just sharing your history. Downtown development, providing diversity of businesses and employment, and well-planned growth that honors your small town. Infrastructure planning, which throughout this process, we've learned that High Springs actually has a lot of great plans and is moving forward in their infrastructure. And community activities to get everybody involved, to get the youth involved, to get different, like the senior activities also, because later on, we'll speak of how we went to the First Christian Academy and talked to the students to see what they would like to see in High Springs and what would keep them in High Springs. And I will hand over to Amanda.
Thank you, Alyssa. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. So we had the community meeting number 2, and that was held at the Old School Community Center on February 20th. This primary focus was to discuss the disaster resiliency component of the economic development and disaster resiliency plan. Approximately 14 people attended this meeting, and some of the comments we received were comments such as the city has a real need for location to keep the equipment so it doesn't get damaged. A lot of the people don't know about the Nixle app, and so we had we talked to the chief, Gilliam, and he explained the Nixle app, and we talked to a couple of residents who also have been able to use that, and it's been very beneficial. And then also communication within the community could be improved. Some of it might be generational, but that was just some of the comments we received back. And we also had a couple of questions, one being, will the city get funding by having a disaster resiliency plan in place? And also, can FUT look at these bridges in the community? When there was flooding from the natural disaster, I think someone said about 3 days. So that was something we wanted to look into, and we're glad we had someone from FDOT and our asset mapping exercise to kind of go over that with us. And so during community meeting number 2, we also went over the final vision. And so with this, we came up with High Springs is a charming, quaint community with unique history and genuine people. And then High Springs strives for well-planned growth with focus on business development, employment expansions, ecotourism, affordable housing, and various educational opportunities while maintaining its one-of-a-kind identity. And we really thought this described High Springs pretty well from the feedback we got from the first community meeting number 1 and all the comments, even attending the High Springs historical event. That was great. So now I'll turn it back over to Alyssa.
Thanks, Amanda. So we're going to go over a recap of the asset mapping exercise. It turned out very well. We had at least 30 people in attendance. We had Department of Economic Opportunity, Department of Transportation. We had the Division of Historical Resources. We also had United States Department of Agriculture. So anybody on the call that attended, I very much appreciate that. Your support and showing off High Springs was very beneficial. We got one of the comments back from DEO when we sent the plan that with all the history, and they were just very excited they wanted to come to High Springs. So pat yourselves on the back for that, with all the efforts that we've been put into this plan, we actually are being noticed, and people that have never been there really want to come to High Springs. So there's we just highlighted a couple of the places that everybody went to. The High Springs Historic District was a very key point, and it was mentioned about maybe getting more involved or back involved in the Main Street program. Need to redo the welcome signs, paint signs, consider historic overlays. We also went to the High Springs Lion Club. We also went to the Priest Theater. Everybody thought that was a great asset, and even went over to Gilchrist Blue Springs State Park. And they were very they were encouraged and they really wanted to actually work with High Springs and promote ecotourism and promote both each other. And they were really looking forward to and want to have a partnership with High Springs. Also went to the Chamber of Commerce, and then Alachua County Library High Springs branch. And they were very impressed. It's up to date. It's for all ages. The High Springs Police Department, they learned that it's a repurposed building that doesn't have proper security. Like there is no bulletproof glass. There's no separation between the public and inmates. Also, it needs maintenance upkeep. And then furthermore, they need, High Springs is in need of a new city hall. And the last one we highlighted here from that meeting was the High Springs BMX. Everybody was very, very impressed with this, and this could really be built off of and can be, since it's world renowned, people had mentioned maybe bringing a hotel near this, and it would bring in revenue to High Springs. Maybe not so much even a hotel, but maybe a boutique hotel. Need more food options. Somebody said they'd like to see a food truck park near the BMX. And then from here, that is our recap of the asset mapping exercise. This is, I think, almost everybody in attendance. There's maybe a couple missing. And I want to thank Sharon Decker for bringing Dawn Cross Photography, who took all these lovely photos. So this is where we started creating the economic development strategy and the disaster resiliency component. And together we've made the economic development and disaster resiliency plan. So when we started this, we took 4 overarching themes from all these meetings, and we came up with the 4 most important themes, which is well-planned growth, employment opportunities for all ages, affordable housing, and community activities. So goals for well-planned growth would be to diversify your tax base and get some more commercial tax, promote your ecotourism, attract more sustainable businesses to the High Springs area. Employment opportunities for all ages. When I went to the school and spoke with the students, there was one that had just moved from Williston, and she said, well, I was working, but I moved here and I have nowhere to work. Quite other few of them, they said they have no opportunity to work, but they would like to work. I think there was maybe one person that said that she actually had a job at the moment. Expand education opportunities, bring in vocational schools, technical schools, because that's a lot of what we heard is not everybody is going to want to go to college or a university. They might want to go to a vocational school and learn a skill or a trade. And businesses investing in the youth and your job training. We'll talk a little bit more about investing in the youth and job training when we get a little bit further into the presentation. Affordable housing. Having housing diversification is huge for High Springs, and making housing more affordable. Improve the water and sewer infrastructure for the housing in High Springs and the city of High Springs. We clarified the affordable housing because we've heard kind of both sides that it is affordable, but it's not affordable. But throughout the meetings, we've clarified that they do need affordable housing. So we've added that into this plan. In community activities, this is a big thing throughout this process that everybody would really like to see new activities for the youth, even intergenerational activities, bringing people together that way. There's a whole list in your plan of activities that the youth would like to see themselves, that would keep them in High Springs, that would keep them happy in High Springs. You guys will all see that in your plan. Engage the community in events such as the festival and the farmers market. And then create wayfinding activities for community members and outside residents so they know where they're going and they can find these assets throughout the community. So we base this plan off of the Department of Economic Opportunities 15 ways to make Florida's communities more competitive. And the first one is take a whole community approach to planning and implementation, work to retain current businesses and support their expansion, attract new businesses and industries, build human capacity and develop the workforce, encourage innovation and entrepreneurship, create and preserve sense of place and important resources, build community leadership, improve resiliency to disasters, provide quality education, support neighborhood district revitalization, encourage commercial district revitalization, increase the availability of affordable housing for the workforce, provide and promote recreational opportunities, ensure the availability of quality healthcare facilities, and promote sustainable building and economic development practices. So these are a few highlighted tools and actual projects that we have created for High Springs that should be beneficial to High Springs. And you can take these tools and actually implement them with this plan. This plan that we have is a stepping stone to actually making these things happen. And it's going to take the public, and it's going to take High Springs staff, and it's going to take the commissioners and mayor, everybody to come together to make these things happen. So the first main project would be to update the city's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan, High Springs has just submitted their ear letter on April 7th. So now by April 7th, 2021, this comprehensive plan needs to be updated. The land development code, once you submit your comprehensive plan, will need to be updated within a year of that time. Our third tool and actual project is the wayfinding signage. It gives ease to visitors locating historical sites, landmarks, businesses, downtown historic districts. You can even go to business, like point them to certain businesses. City communication efforts. We've heard a lot throughout this process that not it's for lack of trying, but the city would like to have more communication and be notified of things that are going on and just kind of be more linked in. And it might be, the different age groups and, technology, it's all getting crazy. I mean, this week, I think I've kind of went nuts with all these different things that I've had to use. Our next one that we highlighted here is historic building upgrades. You can look into the Department of State historical resources, depending on who owns the building, they might be able to help with these historic buildings. Establish community goals for vacant or underutilized lots. This is a big one here, is actually building an inventory of what needs to be filled in and what infill needs to be done. So people, maybe they come into High Springs and they say, well, what land do you have available? And then you have a list there that you could show them, which brings us into number 8, the real estate inventory. And young entrepreneurs and professionals. This is where I was discussing earlier about bringing the youth into your businesses and kind of preparing them for their future trades that they would like to do. Maybe it will help them maybe look at cities with comparable sizes and examine the programs they've offered, and you guys can use that to offer that to your youth. City code enforcement. I've learned through working with High Springs that there is no code enforcement, but because you don't have anybody to do so. I think it would be very important to get somebody in and get somebody to endeavor to protect and preserve the public health and safety and welfare and quality of life for the citizens of High Springs. And as I had touched on earlier, the vocational, technical, and trade schools really needs to focus on for the youth of High Springs. Another, as I had said about the BMX, people had said that they would like to have a hotel. I think it would be more suitable for High Springs with the amount of people to maybe have a boutique hotel or motel. very important to work on infrastructure upgrades and getting broadband and data infrastructure into the city. So this was probably one of my favorite parts about this process, was going into the First Christian Academy. We were going to actually go to, trying to think the other high school. Wow.
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, thank you. We were going to go to Santa Fe, but due to the pandemic, we weren't able to go in, and it's totally understandable, but we were lucky to get to speak to like 14 students, and Dama Messina had helped us get in, and we spoke with Miss Phillips, and she let us speak to children from the range from 15 to 18. Quite a few of the things that they were kind of quiet at first. Nobody knew what planning was, which I wasn't surprised. So they would like better employment opportunities. They would like college closer, and to be able to expand their horizons. So that's reasons why they would leave, because they don't have these opportunities. And we had 7% say they were undecided as to whether they would stay in High Springs after high school. 50% said yes, and 43% said no. And this was, out of 14 students. I think a lot of them would really like to stay in High Springs, but things need to happen and things need to get moving for them to stay. And some of these students as well, they didn't live in High Springs, but they were in the surrounding area, which is still, it has an impact on High Springs. And monitoring. It is suggested that the Department of Planning, Development, and Community Improvement prepare a brief monitoring report at the end of each year to inform the City Commission and citizens of High Springs what the status is of each project. This is where it keeps everybody in check and keeps everybody on track, and making sure everybody is working to implement this plan and get things rolling. And regional partnerships, High Springs grows not just on its own, it needs partners, and it starts with the Regional Planning Council, Alachua County, City of Newberry, City of Gainesville, and building those relationships is going to be very important and beneficial to High Springs.
So I think we all can relate that a disaster resiliency component during this time, it's kind of a crazy time. It would be nice to kind of know where we're at and have something that we can rely on and look back on to reference. So a disaster resiliency component for the city of High Springs is essential to maintain normal city and business operations in the event of any unexpected disaster. So the disaster resiliency component focuses on a holistic disaster recovery approach that relies on the public's involvement. So we base this section based on the American Planning Association. They provide a framework for communities related to disaster preparedness and resiliency in their hazard mitigation policy guide. And this was approved in April of 2014. So some of the recommendations would be interagency, regional, and local planning capacities and corporations. So this includes data sharing, getting the knowledge out there, getting the information out there, and also identifying any areas at risk. That includes people at risk, that includes buildings, that includes any area, maybe mapping that so we all have an idea of where those locations are. And then also establishing protocols for better communication. And this also includes the Nixle app. We have that in place, but any other types of communication. Second, they also recommend resiliency standards. So this would be part of this would be reviewing the comprehensive plan, future land use maps, land development codes, and official zoning maps to ensure that the city isn't inadvertently planning for development in vulnerable areas, both physical and human. And then also to provide incentives such as expedited permitting that encourages development away from vulnerable areas of the city and around the city area. The third recommendation is stakeholder involvement. So this would be area-wide regional partnerships that can offer broader perspectives and hazard mitigation planning, and maybe so the same methodologies could be used by business owners and creating their own fiscal and economic recovery plans in order to keep and get their business up and running during and or after a disaster. The fourth recommendation is public engagement and public education. I think this is pretty key, and according to the holistic disaster approach design, there's 3 forms of communication for public involvement, one being notification, we have that Nixle app in place, one being education, and the third one being participation. Hosting public education sessions on the disaster preparedness to explain the disaster plans, including essential preparations for supply of water, food, any type of distribution like that. And then also small business hazard preparation. So this could be, besides a small business hazard preparation, we could also have the creation of a hybrid community emergency response team. And this could also be poised to provide extra support needed during and or after a disaster. And so as we've started to see with the COVID-19 pandemic situation in 2020, it's imperative to think about strategies to cope with social recovery of events like this. So any type of communication that we can set in place and have in this plan would be beneficial to kind of help aid in being prepared and kind of the after effects to getting back on our feet again.
And then we're going to move forward into the portion of the plan. We added grant opportunities, and this is a highlight of some of them, and they are not completed in the report yet. And I've noted that in the report so you all know that there's still grant opportunities that we're going to provide that you guys can look into for the city of High Springs. The AARP, I'll highlight this one. This one's actually like a quick challenge grant, and it's open until May 15th. One of the really cool ideas that I saw that another city in Florida did is they did an intergenerational community garden, and they started a garden at a senior center. So the kids could come and start a garden with the seniors. And I thought that was just a really cute idea. And it's all about having community and bringing everyone together. And this is, I don't know how, I've never done one of these grants, but it doesn't close till May 15th. So that's kind of a plug there. Then we have some grants in here from FDP, from DEO, the Community Planning Technical Assistance Grants, the MacArthur Foundation. We had the Florida Department of State, which is going to be very beneficial to High Springs. They have their small matching grants program, their special category grants program, cultural facilities grants, and specific cultural projects. And that will be huge for the history portion of what we're trying to promote for High Springs now. The Environmental Protection Agency in Kaboom it's a very easy to fill out grant application to help build parks, or even the Play Everywhere grant. You can have an activity at a bus stop or just a little corner somewhere. It's a really creative idea if you look into that one with Kaboom. So our conclusion, we encourage that all city staff, citizens, stakeholders are involved in the implementation of this plan. We've really enjoyed and are going to continue with our last meeting, working with you all and seeing High Springs grow. We went to the Historical Society's Homecoming 2020, and from that day, I felt really engaged with High Springs, and I really can't wait to see how far everybody can go. And I know you guys all will work well together, and we'll still support you after. I know Amanda and I had signed up for, I don't think I sent mine in yet, but the Historical Society. So our next community meeting will be May 14th. So next Friday, we will be sending the draft plan back up with your all's comments implemented in the plan up to the Department of Economic Opportunity. They will send it back to us, and on May 14th, we will have our adoption hearing. And any questions or comments, please let me know. I know you guys haven't had time to see the whole plan yet, so you can leave your comments in the report. I mean, comments you have, please let us know. We'll make sure that they are reflected in the plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alyssa, this is Scott. Is it appropriate to adopt the report that you provided? Is that typically what the communities do, or is this just filed with the clerk at this stage? What do we do at this point?
Yes, it is to be adopted.
Okay.
The state requires you to adopt it.
And do we
Not
do
at this
that?
point. That's for the final.
Yeah, the final
In
one,
May,
correct.
correct.
Very good. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you,
Yeah.
Allison.
Any other questions?
The
Yep.
email that Alyssa referred to, I have not seen that. Alyssa, when will we see that email that you're asking us to review and get back to you?
I had sent it last night to be sent out to you all. I can send it out to you all personally.
I
After
just
the meeting.
forwarded it to everybody.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Jenny.
And when did you want us to review that and get back to you by next Monday, correct?
Monday evening or Tuesday morning. That would be great, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So how have COVID-19 delayed or hindered this progress, if any?
For the plan,
Yeah.
it took a little longer for us to get comments back from the state, but other than that, we've been able to stay on track. I mean, we knew from the beginning that this was fast tracked, and it really, things got a little out of hand here the past few, I guess, almost month now. But the state, they are been moved into different roles at the Department of Economic Opportunity, but they were able to get the comments back to us and keep us on track, and no dates have changed. We're still moving on just as we should.
Okay, good. All right. Any other questions for them?
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Okay, there's nothing else for them. Thank y'all so much, and
Thank you.
we appreciate the work that you're doing, and we hope that this move forward and bring some wonderful things to High Springs, which I believe that it will.
It
And
sure will.
And I want to again thank you for reaching out. Thank you for reaching out to the youth. Thank you so much for doing that. I think that we need to hear their insight.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite parts for sure.
Yeah, good, very good. Okay. If there's nothing else, can we move on to the next item? All right. That's gonna be an interesting one here. Citizen requests and comments. Jenny, how are we working that one?
Well, I sent everybody, we had the number for people to call in if they had comments, and I received no comments on any of the items on the agenda, but I did email the 3 comments that we did receive. One was from a gentleman who wanted us to have a leash law because his wife was bitten by a dog. And the other was somebody wanting the streets behind City Hall paved. And well, actually one item was on item number 3. So I can tell you that one when we get there, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, this is that point in time where if there is a member of the public that is, I've just scrolled through the Zoom conference. It does not look to me like there is anybody from the public that is on the Zoom meeting technology here. But this is the time where if somebody was on the Zoom, that Jenny would recognize them, either waving their hand or mashing the wave your hand function on the Zoom technology. But
I'm here.
We do have several 9 attendees that are not showing here, and nobody has raised their hand to speak at this time.
So you.
Oh, wait. There's this gentleman did named Art. Hold on just a moment, and I'll move him over.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes.
Yes, okay, you can speak.
I was wondering if you guys are going to be addressing the building department and the construction continuing in High Springs.
Art, can you be a little bit more specific for us, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to build a house in the city limits of High Springs, and I've been unable to get my building permit approved for 6 weeks.
Okay.
Hey.
Mr. Manager, you want to address that one?
Uh-oh.
We lost him.
Oh, there he is.
There you go. He got to turn his mic on. There you go.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Natalie has been in contact with Mr. Withy, and I've also through correspondence. Unfortunately, is what we're dealing with right now. We don't have the capacity of doing electronic approval of permits, but I think Ms. Natalie talked to him today, and she assured him that as soon as she get back in office, he will be on the top of the list of priorities.
Yes, she did. She did. I guess what I was looking at is moving forward when we have pandemics like this. There are guidelines for how long the virus is alive on paper. A lot of the school systems are handling their homework. I know in Bell, Florida, where the students are bringing their homework and putting it in plastic tubs, and then the school teachers 5 days later are reviewing the homework. So I don't understand why my contractor couldn't bring my paperwork to her office and leave it there. And then 3 or 4 days later, they review it, stamp it, and say, okay, you can proceed with construction. To me, not allowing me to build a home for 6 weeks because somebody didn't want to look at the papers is just unacceptable. I hope we can do better than that in the future.
Mr. Mayor, we're in the process of reviewing. Unfortunately, we have no control over what the way things are going. The whole world has stopped, and we're going to work with Mr. Withy as expeditiously as possible once we get back where we need to be. But we're trying to, we're at limited staffing, and we don't want to exhaust that or put them at harm's way. But we are very conscious of the concern, and I am confident that we will move forward, Mr. Withy.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I look forward to you guys opening back up on the 4th. I sure hope you're going to make that decision.
That's still up in the air. So we're discussing it, and we have meetings with Mr. Mayor. We have meetings with the county and the state. So we hope so as well.
Those same contractors that are supposed to be building my home will run out of work soon if we don't allow new construction to continue. So we will be putting other people out of work if we don't allow new construction to continue.
So noted, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else there, Jenny?
I don't see anybody, right? No, sir. There's nobody else right now.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to our new business.
Mr. Mayor, the first item under new business is the consideration and approval of an agreement between the City of High Springs and Oak Ridge at High Springs Homeowners Association. It's in regards to Oak Ridge at High Springs Phase 2. If you look at your commission packet, I've numbered each page, and I will start on page 12. It looks like this. I'm going to show it to you. Is the way it's printed out on my packet. It's a document produced by Osteen Brothers for Oak Ridge punch list phases 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's in the same sequence as the pages in your packet. Basically, if you look at this, there's a number of things that are required to be improved or fixed in Oak Ridge subdivision. And these things that are listed are now totaling $26,493. So we have Hugh Feather, who's an estimator with Osteen Brothers, giving us a proposal of the things that need to be fixed. If you all will recall, that I think it's been a year and a half ago or so. Josh Highlander, who is a private engineer with CHW, Casso, Hewlett, and Walpole, reported that New Generation Builders, Mr. Williams, was having a lot of problems with his phase 2 of Oak Ridge. And in fact, the problems were so severe at that time that we revoked the agreement ultimately and established about $96,000, I believe, of improvements that needed to be made. So we did a stop work order, and we also terminated our agreement with Travis Williams at the time. And of course, we're in a quandary because there was about 9 homes, as I remember, that needed to be, folks had bought the homes, built the homes, and it was right around Christmas time. Mr. Booth at the time, since those homes were so far along, we issued occupancy permits for those homes so that those people could close on their new houses and they could move in and get that done. Now, as time has gone on, that 96,000 that was originally required to be done as improvements is whittled down to this $26,493. So now if we'll turn to page 13, the next page, we'll just kind of summarize the agreement. I won't read it to you, but I'll go over it with you and give you a little history and what this agreement does. And the basic global concept of this agreement is that we need somebody to take responsibility from the city. Cities should not have to do this. It's not our responsibility. So some entity, now that New Generation Builders has gone out of business and we cannot look to them to make these $26,000 worth of improvements, somebody has to get the improvements done so we can move on to phases 3 and 4. And just by the way, with respect to phases 3 and 4, Joel has gathered our city manager, has gathered the site plan review committee to go over the improvement plans so that 3 and 4 can go forward. My understanding that's passed muster. There is a question regarding water pressure. Joel has talked to the developer and advised the developer of that question. And so there's anticipation there's going to be some engineering and fix to phases 3 and 4, the water lines, such that the water pressure will be up. If there's a fire, if we need fire services, we want to make sure that when our fire department ties into the hydrants, that they have sufficient water pressure. That's one of the issues that's out there. But as far as everything else is concerned, phases 3 and 4 can go forward. This is probably one, in my history of city attorney work, this is one of the most difficult developments. It's just one of those instances where you have a lot of things happening and unfortunate situation goes on. So it's just been a difficult situation. I'm glad to report that I think this problem is getting off of my desk and getting off of Joel DeCourcy's desk, and we're going to have the improvements done. We want these houses to get built out. We want the subdivision to get, we don't want dead end roads and stormwater drainage facilities that are just not finished out, all those kind of things. So the objective in the city is that we want to get these things done. How Development is posting the $26,000 to get phase 2 done into their attorney's trust account. And then they will do all of the work that is mandated under this agreement and the Osteen brothers estimates. They'll get that done, and then we close out phase 2. So that's on the prints up to get done, and then we move on to phases 3 and 4. So the first page of the agreement, which is what I call page 13 in the packet, is just setting forth all of the background and the somewhat tortured history of this project. And the page 14 does the same thing, and there's a number of exhibits that will be attached to this agreement. So that's what the first bit of this agreement is all about. Page 15 does the same thing, and it again kind of tells you the history that I've just gone through with you all, the commissioners. At the bottom of page 15, we have a consideration clause, and that these recitals on page 16 are true and correct. Definitional section And then Oak Ridge Homeowners Association, the HOA for Oak Ridge, is actually a contracting party. Rick Howe is wearing several hats here. He's the developer of his corporation, Howe Development Corporation, that's posting the money, but he's also the president of the Homeowners Association, and he's taken the responsibility on to get these actions taken care of. And then however his development corporation gets paid back is up to the Homeowners Association, Mr. Howe. So that's really none of our business. Our business is we want to make sure that these fixes that need to be conducted get done, and we all move on. So we set forth the Homeowners Association responsibilities, the city's responsibilities. If there's disputes, then we can terminate, just like we did with Travis Williams. We can terminate the agreement upon 45 days notice. The breach would not be considered a breach. I would suggest we put in CHW into the blank if they determine that the work is not. They're the ones that reported Mr. Williams Corporation originally. So their engineers, their licensure is on the lines. So I think it would be appropriate to plug them in, and they have a responsibility to let us know if things are not getting done as they're supposed to be getting done. And then notices to myself and Manager DeCourcy, and then the folks for Oak Ridge HOA is force majeure provision. The rest of the provisions are all very straightforward and normal contract provisions. So, Mr. Mayor, at this stage, an appropriate motion would be to authorize the appropriate city officials, both our manager, yourself, Mr. Mayor, myself, and Ms. Jenny, our city clerk, to enter into the agreement. The appropriate motion would be to enter into the agreement between City of High Springs and Oak Ridge at High Springs Homeowners Association, Inc. regarding Oak Ridge at High Springs Phase 2.
He's muted.
Mayor, I have a couple of questions for Scott Walker.
Go ahead.
Under Article 4, the city's obligations, it says, once the work's been completed, the city shall accept and maintain the right-of-way in Oak Ridge Phase 2 and all improvements and infrastructure located thereon, including but not limited to roads, sidewalks, water, and sewer. It goes on to say that the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association shall remain responsible for the stormwater improvements regarding Phase 2 and maintenance of same, and the city shall not accept the stormwater improvements. Is that a normal thing? And did we accept the stormwater improvements in Phase 1? Obviously, there's some issues with that we don't want to be liable for in the future, is what I'm reading in there.
I think your read is exactly right. I'm not sure normal is really something that you, in the past, once the physical improvements were done by developments, it was very common that all of the physical improvements would be accepted by the city. So that's really been kind of my history in these sort of things. I think it's not the norm at this point that all improvements are necessarily accepted by the city at the present time. It's something that you negotiate, and a lot of times you negotiate that in the very initial permitting phases of a development. You may not accept all the roads. The roads may remain with a homeowners association in the future. You always want to have some sort of mechanism such that roads will be taken care of. The water, the wastewater lines, that sort of thing are typically accepted by the city because we want to be able to go in.
I just am curious how we're going to enforce, if we're responsible for the stormwater in Phase 1 and not in 2, how do we navigate that in the future? That's my curiosity. Mr. DeCourcy, do you know if we are responsible for Phase 1 stormwater?
Mr. Mayor, no, not at this time. I'm don't have that answer, but I can get it for you.
Okay, thank you.
My speculation is that, and I don't remember specifically, Commissioner Laven, but I think we did accept stormwater in phase 1. Phase 2 was so tortured, and the feeling, I actually went out and walked with Mr. Highlander, Manager Booth at the time, and our feeling was that based upon the engineering, that the stormwater facilities we just weren't going to accept those. I don't believe there's ever been a problem with respect to the road systems. Now, in the future, Commissioner Laven and Mayor Williams, if it comes about where we're inspecting these and the engineering is such that we feel confidence in accepting those improvements, we may very well do that. Typically, what I see, Commissioner Laven, is that you'll have a sinkhole open up in a stormwater facility, and if the city hasn't accepted the maintenance of that facility, then the homeowners association has to take care of that sort of improvement, the sinkhole. I hope I'm answering your question.
Yeah, it's an unusual situation down the road for the city to know where their responsibility lies. And that's my only concern with this agreement.
I do not disagree with you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Rick Howe is requesting to speak.
On this issue here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Howe? Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay, well, it may take a second. I don't know. I'm not as fancy as Joel is. He's got this down pat. So I was trying, I can answer all those questions. First of all, state of Florida regulates stormwater. You have to get your permit with the water management. Water management will not issue a permit to any subdivision that doesn't have a identified association that's responsible for it. In all of our subdivisions in the city of Gainesville, I'm doing a project. Our association is responsible. All of our projects in Alachua County, the county's not responsible for the stormwater. The permits for Oak Ridge were issued originally back in 05, 06, and the documents in order for you to get your permit for water management, in this case, Swanee Water Management, to issue the permit for your stormwater system, you have to have a recorded association that accepts responsibility. In phase 1, the total responsibility has been for the association since day 1, and we've maintained it ever since. Phase 2, once it's done, it was already, and we've already accepted it, as Scott pointed out earlier, when we had to take over the association when Mr. Williams went bankrupt. And I'm an owner out there. I have a personal home in Oak Ridge myself. And it's, it was from the very beginning, we told, the manager that, Booth, that we accepted it, even the phase 2. We've already had some minor things, and OSEEN fixed a small issue per the state requirements in phase 1 pond about 2 months ago, and the association paid for that. So water management mandates that this stormwater is a responsibility of the homeowner association, and that is not, and it's in all of the water management property is in the common area of the association. As for the streets and everything else, this association, when it was first approved with its PD back in 2005, contemplated these being city streets. And the phase 1 were built to city standards and accepted immediately. And we've had correspondence and forever that acknowledged that the city was not in dispute of the phase 2 streets. Problem with phase 1. The problem with phase 2, to be very honest with you, was just Travis went out of business. And when you stop paying people at the end of the job, in this case, it was sheer construction, not getting paid to the final bills on those jobs, they pulled off, which is what contractors do. And And some of the issues that were out there were not road related. It was some other things like sidewalks and some of the stormwater stuff, of which most of it we've already addressed. As Scott pointed out, we've whittled this down from $76,000 of items to 26. The question was earlier about we're funding this. Our arrangements with the homeowner association, we are not charging the homeowners. We are paying for this. How development is covering this cost at no expense, and there's no recovery, no expectation or any obligation for the homeowners out there in phase 1 and 2 to contribute a penny to this. And that's what they do. I wear many hats in addition to being a resident in High Springs and living there. And, spent my Christmas in that neighborhood and being a builder that built most of the houses that are in there today. I'm also the president of the homeowner association. And that's largely a factor that the owners really want us to get this done. And they've asked us to do it. We want to do it. The timing of this is much longer than people's memories. I mean, the original letter to the failed developer before in phase 2 was actually back in April of 2017. We're literally talking 3 years ago, this failure started. And we've been working diligently trying to get this fixed for, I can say, all 3 of those years. We were very excited to get this going. We need confirmation that the plans that are the original plans that were approved in 2005 and reissued in 2015 that we're in good standing and we can get going on that. Time is of the essence. We all know that the worldwide epidemic that we're going through is putting a lot of pressure on the credit markets. And we have a commitment from our bank. We've talked to them and all the words are that, yes, we're still good, but I'm not going to kid anyone here. It may be a situation where if we don't get this done, I don't know if in a couple of months there's any banks that's going to be wanting to fund anything until there's absolutely certainty that this price problem we're going through in our country is on safe ground. So I'm here to answer any questions. I'm sorry my video is not working. I'm not really sure why, but I'm here to help. So. Oh, there we go. How about that?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to make sure we get into this thing. When Rick says it goes back 3 years or so forth, so I've been in this thing working on it along with Mr. Walker and them along the way. This is something that's been overdue. It was a unique situation with Travis Williams and the way things went. This needs to get done tonight because of the funding and so forth to get this thing done. I appreciate Mr. Walker and his staff and Mr. Howe and his people working on it, but we need to get this thing done and let those people over in Oakview 3 and 4 get a finality to this thing. So I appreciate everybody's hard work on it. This has not been an easy process. But the document that we have now basically transitions what was always the issue, getting the things in phase 2 done before we allowed them to go to 3 and 4. This document takes care of that. So I'm all in favor of approving this thing and let's get this thing done for the people who live there. So I thank Mr. Walker, Rick, I thank everybody for this.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Jenny pointed out that I've been referring to this as a new generation home builders. I should have been saying innovative. I don't know where I got that, but innovative home builders, I think was Travis's. I think that was it. Rick, I believe, was the name of his corporation.
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks for pointing that out. I have to clear the record.
And just for the record, Mr. Mayor, staff has been great. Everybody, I mean, I'm a person that looks forward in life. I don't have any agenda here. We patiently waited. We knew there was things that had to fall in place. It's unfortunately we're going through this coronavirus thing, and there's a big risk for us. I mean, we could buy this and put a bunch of lots out there, and then next year, no one's buying any houses. Well, I'm be coming back there and sweeping streets for you guys, but I don't think so. I'm a positive thinker. I think we're going to get over this. And I think what you need to know is the people I sell out there. And I sold a house this week to a 32-year-old teacher, single mom with 2 kids, takes care of her grandmother. And I put her in a house that she rented for me for 2 years while she saved up the money. So she had a down payment to make her FHA. And she closed last week, and she's the happiest one because the interest rate we got her, she pays less in her payments than her rent was to us. And she owns a house. And she's got a house that her kids will live in the rest of their lives and go to school at and stuff. And, you know, I mean, I can give you story after story. My customers out there aren't folks moving from some well-to-do place. They're working people that work right in our community. And I applaud the presentation from the Kimberly Horn staff. They did an excellent job. I wish I could spend more time in participating in some of this, but the points they hit on affordable housing and the diversity housing, I am diversity housing there. I sell to everybody there. I mean, I am diversity housing there. Available land, this is available land that's been itching to go and get done. There's not a single house for sale in Oak Ridge today if you go on MLS. And as far as expediting permitting, all I'm gonna say, guys, 3 years, it's time for us to get going on this. So I appreciate your support, and I'm asking for your support tonight to give us the green light so we can get going on this.
Thank you. Any other commissioners?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I say thank you to Nancy for bringing up that issue, because as I was reading it, I made notes for myself to ask about that very same thing. But now we know we've gotten the answer. And because of that, I also agree with Commissioner Jameson that we've been dealing with this for a long time. And it seems that the document that we have now will resolve the issues that we had. And if we could go forward with this, I think it's time for us to do that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
Well,
Yes, sir.
I'll just say this, if there's no other comments on it, I'll move that we approve the agreement.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, so Mr. Walker, we good with this, and it's going to give us opportunity to go and clear this matter up and we can move on?
I don't think with Mr. Howe aboard, you're going to hear Oak Ridge again on the commission agenda, other than people coming in and saying, thank you, we love living in High Springs. That's been my experience. And we went through, there's been a long time here, long history with, we thought he was going to be dealing with phase 2. Bank decided to go another way, and so everybody lived and suffered through that. So I think it's onward and forward.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, anyone else? Anyone else? All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right.
Mr.
Thank
Mayor,
you, Mr. Howe.
Mr. Mayor, God bless you and everyone tonight, and thank you very much. Stay safe. I'm going to go and join my wife for dinner tonight, so.
Enjoy.
All right.
All right, thank you. Okay. Moving on to item number 2.
Mr. Mayor, I'll start the discussion on this. This is page 23, is the new business item number 2. And if you flip over to the next page, which is number 24, it relates to individual project order number 4. So this is an agreement between Kimberly Horn and Associates, Inc. and the City of High Springs. This is to conduct an EAR. I'll go ahead and let Allison or any of her staff go into it a little bit further if they would like to, but it's when we say EAR, it's evaluation and appraisal report. We're entitled to get funding to do this, and one of the things that has been problematic, at least from legal side, is that our comprehensive plan, which is kind of our umbrella with, is not in sync with our land development regulations. And so that creates problems for people like Rick Howe or other developers that are coming before the city when these things are not congruous. And there's no question which document governs, which is the comprehensive plan, but much of our land development regulations are in need of being brought up to date. And the state says every 10 years, your comprehensive plan also needs to be brought up to date. If the commissioners will recollect, there was a standard master agreement that we entered into between Kimberly Horn and the city for planning services back last November of 2019. We approved that. That's under our purchasing policies, you can select professional services without going through the CCNA process or the competitive bid process that you normally have to do with engineering contract services. This is not engineering, this is planning services. And so this document allows for Kimberly Horn to ask the state for grant services, allows them to go in and do the work for the city to update our comprehensive plan. It's going to entail a lot of meetings, a lot of study, a lot of work to be done, as you'll see on page 25 of your agenda items. At the bottom of the page is actually the comprehensive plan update, page 2 of the Kimberly Horn agreement. At the bottom, it says they're going to study these issues under the future land use element, the transportation element, community design element, conservation element, economic development element, historic preservation element, housing element. I'm going to the next page, page 3, page 26 of your agenda item. Housing element, parks, recreation, and open space element, utility element, capital improvements element, intergovernmental coordination element, public school facilities element. So those are all of that runs through everything under your comprehensive plan. They're going to go through the study and then make the changes that are necessitated as a result of that study, bring that back to the city commission, and then it'll go on to the state for ultimate approval. The lump sum fee that they will engender for this is found on page 4 of the IPO, page 27 of your agenda items, and it's a $123,000 fee. It's anticipated that this work will last approximately for a full year. They have on page 28 of your agenda the listing of the hourly rate that would be the billing rate as to the folks that are working at Kimberly Horn. They have senior professionals and on and on and on listed there as to what the rates would be. When the time comes, the appropriate motion would be for the city to approve individual project order number 4 between the city of High Springs and Kimberly Horn Associates within the terms of the master agreement that we've already specified for continuing professional services. And this will be the comprehensive plan update. Mr. Mayor, Allison McGrath may wish to give further detail on the work that will be performed pursuant to this contract.
Thank you. Allison.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. And again, we appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. Mr. Walker's correct. This is a pretty comprehensive system of work that we have to go through. It's statutorily required. Every 7 years, the state asks local communities to update their comprehensive plans. As you know, for example, in 2011, there was widespread changes, wide sweeping changes to the Florida statutes regarding the Community Planning Act, which really kind of impacted a lot of comprehensive plans that were dated pre-2011. So this really gives you an opportunity to go in and take a fresh look and incorporate all the statutory changes that have happened. Also to look at new local issues. You may have had a change in leadership since the last time your comprehensive plan was up to date. It also allows you to take a look at things that have been piecemealed. If you've done a lot of comprehensive plan amendments over the years since your last full update, you tend to find that there are disjointed areas within your comprehensive plan, and this is an opportunity to go through and sync everything back up again and give you a fresh start. You can also add additional optional elements to your comprehensive plan. As you heard earlier, you're now going to have an economic development strategy. It might be that you want to consider adding an economic development element, which then sets you in good place to use as a document to point to when you're seeking additional funding that's related to economic development activities. Because it's embedded in your comprehensive plan. It shows the reviewing agencies for grants that you have taken into consideration that you want to have economic development in your community. You're not just applying for a grant because it happens to be available. I will make one minor clarification to what Mr. Walker said. Going through the process of updating your comprehensive plan doesn't necessarily entitle you to grant funds, but you certainly can apply for grant funds that can be applied to the comprehensive plan update. Just a slight clarification in that. But it's an extensive body of work that we would do, looking at where you were back then and comparing it to where you are now, and based on population projections, where you want to be in the future, looking at all of those elements of your comprehensive plan. I could talk for days about this stuff. This is what I live to do. I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Mayor. I'll stop there.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
we had discussed at the last meeting, or the meeting that this was brought up before, about the raises. The rates may change as of July 1st. Has that been addressed?
Mr. Mayor, I can answer that if you'd like.
Yes.
Mr. Walker did speak with me about that, and yes, those rates will stay in effect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Anyone else? Well, thank you, because I think it's so important for us to have a plan for the future. I'm a firm believer you don't have a roadmap how to get there, will you be able to make it there? So I think it's so important for us to have a good comprehensive plan, and we need to do it according to what we want for High Springs, not what trying to think of the name of the city, Zephyr Hills. Jen know what I'm talking about when I say that. It's not about Zephyr Hills, it's about what we want for High Springs. So again, I think we need to move forward with this and make sure that we have a nice plan for the future. Yes, ma'am.
A couple of questions. This is just for our comprehensive plan update, and I believe the documents that I saw said we're statutorily need to have this done by April of 2021. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, it's 2020. Yes, 2021. Excuse me.
2021 is when we're
2021,
supposed
April
to have this finished. So we really just have a year to complete this process.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The other question, Jennifer Stahl, how do we pay for this? It's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. And because it is a lot of money, I know, Scott, you said we do not have to do competitive bid, but for 123,000, my feeling is we should. Nothing. I love Allison. I think it's great, but it's just a lot of money.
We've run into this before, though. If we put it out to bid now, others, excuse me, know what they have put in as a cost. So it's really a difficult situation.
Right. I know what you're saying.
The other question or the other statement that I would have is the continuity of having the same group of people work with us on the comprehensive plan that are currently doing our planning and doing this economic development plan is going to give us a cohesive product. Doing things piecemeal is not necessarily going to give us a true plan of what our community is trying to vision. So my concern or my question is, we're supposed to vote on this, but I need to know where the money is going to come from, because I can't just vote to spend $123,000 without having an idea where that's coming from, because I know it's not in the budget that I saw. So Jennifer, how are you going to pull that off?
I can't give you that answer tonight. So that's something I would want to talk with the manager about. And you're right, it is not in the budget. We do have some contingency money that we always put back for the general fund. But I'm going to be honest, the virus and how it has affected, I know from the state of Florida, our money, sales tax, gas tax, all of that's going to be reduced. So that may eat into our contingency. But again, I would like to have a conversation with the manager and maybe we come up with the strategy to present to you all.
So we'll table it, Mr. Mayor?
Byron,
Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
I would just like clarification on the deal, and obviously I have faith, and I agree with Nancy on the deal. I'd like for us to figure out the money, but from a legal standpoint, I want to make sure this is good because you took 120 and you're not having to bid it out. I mean, and this is nothing. We worked with Allison, and that's not the issue. But I don't want somebody coming back and saying for 127, how did you just do a single vendor? There's obviously other people. So, I mean, I want to make sure legally we're not exposing ourselves to anything by focusing in on just the one.
Mayor, we have a master services agreement with Kimley Horn that dates back to November of last year. And that agreement specifies that they will do work on a project, visual project order. This is in line with that concept of that agreement. Your purchasing policy exempts professional services from bidding it out. If the commission determines they want to bid it out, you can bid it out. There's nothing that restricts you from going out to bid. But you're not required in this instance to go out to bid. And then the statutory provision, which we refer to as the CCNA, does not govern this particular type of professional service either. Since it's not an engineering service, it's a planning service, a professional service, and therefore it's not affected by the CCNA statute either. So from that standpoint, you can go forward. The question that I'd have for Allison is what kind of grant funding is available to us since this will be spaced out over 2 budgetary years. There's really 2 questions I have for Allison. How much of this will be done before the end of September this year? So we can kind of estimate what would go into budget year of 2020. How much will go into starting October 1st, 2020 through September 30, 2021, how much work would be done? So you're spacing it over 2 fiscal years, essentially. So she can perhaps give us some idea on those things that may help Jennifer Stull and her side of it as the finance director, figuring out how we do pay for this.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, may I respond to that?
Yes, please.
So the way this process works is the initial several months is really data collection. It's having workshops with the public, it's meeting with staff, it's collecting data from other sources, looking at any existing plans that the city might have. So it's the heavy lifting, if you will, of understanding the data and where the city wants to go. The back half of the project is really doing the text amendments. The system that we use is as we collect information from the public and from staff and from other agencies, anybody that provides comments, anything that we have seen ourselves in the comprehensive plan that might be an issue, we collect it all and put it all in a single document, a single matrix. And our system of collecting the comments this way provides us with what we consider a very clean and quick approach to be able to do the back end of this process, which is the actual text amendment recommendations. So to answer your first question, so September is 4 months, May, June, July, August, September, 5 months into this process. We would be well on our way, probably through the completion of data collection by that point in time, and start moving into providing draft text amendments. And then the very end of the process, the last 2 or 3 months, is going to your plan board, going to your city commission, coming to see you with workshops and final adoption. So it's not a 50-50 split given where we are in the course of the year, but it is close to a 50-50 split, I would say. To answer your other question about grant funding, the Department of Economic Opportunity will have a grant cycle opening up on October the 1st, May the 1st. That is for a technical assistance grant. Technical assistance grants are offered through the Division of Community Planning, and this is an appropriate use of those grant funds. So the city could apply to the state for that. The state typically issues those grants in the award of about $40,000, which would help to offset the cost of this application. I can't guarantee you that the grant will be selected and awarded, but I can tell you that those grant cycles are coming up. And I just confirmed that with them a couple weeks ago in light of what we're all seeing with COVID-19.
Allison, one other question, if you would, please. If we get a grant during this cycle for this fiscal year, would we also be able to apply for a grant for the next fiscal year? Is it $40,000 and that's it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Under normal circumstances, you would be able to do that. However, you are statutorily required to submit your updated comprehensive plan to the Department of Economic Opportunity by April the 9th of next year, the 9th or the 7th of next year. So that grant cycle doesn't open until on or about May 1st. So you would be outside of that window for a second request for consideration.
Thank you.
Any other question, any discussion on this one? She trying? No one speaking?
I think Commissioner Jones is.
That's thanks. Turn your mic. There you go. Up, you turn it back off.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
Allison, you talking about Allison? You hear what she said?
No, what you said. I didn't hear what you said after she said.
That's any other question, any other comments?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So what do we need to do from here? I know we discussed some finance, money, and I think it's something we need to get done.
Mayor, so you're looking at what, 60 grand you're gonna have to come up with this year? Ballpark 60 grand?
Yes.
If you put it, if you discuss this or so forth, if you put it off to the next meeting, you table it and bring it back to the next meeting, is that within a time frame, Allison, that would be okay, or does that start to crunch it up?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
So I don't want to sound like I'm just trying to sell our services by saying that it does kind of start to pinch things up, but I can tell you it definitely starts to pinch things up. The fact that your clock already started ticking at the beginning of this month shortens that process already. And if you want robust citizen participation and you really want to have a good fresh plan for the future, I would strongly encourage you to consider advancing it as quickly as you possibly can. That being said, I understand the discussion that's happening, and I'm not saying that, you know, you have to move faster just because of us. We're here to serve the city and the citizens of High Springs, and we want you to make the right decision as well. And we've worked with you a long time, so you know that we're not trying to.
Agreed.
Push us into a position.
I think in light of where we are in the world today and the fact that there's not going to be community gatherings of more than 6 or 10 people, I think we have 2 weeks that we could wait and let Jennifer and Mr. DeCourcy look at the numbers so that when we make this decision, we're coming from a place of knowledge. And we also might have a better idea of what reopening the world is going to look like and how we might go forward to do these community meetings. Because right now, we're not going to be able to do those anyway, except virtually. So my personal opinion is I think we need to bring this back to the next meeting and make a decision with a little more information.
So Allison, what's the date you need to, need to meet to make this happen?
We'll work under, Mr. Mayor, we will work under whatever schedule you're willing to give us. The longer we have, the better work product we feel that we can give you. But we've made miracles happen before, so. And there are, Ms. Lavin, if I may, Commissioner Lavin, there are other opportunities that we can use now, not only having a type of meeting like this where we have a lot of citizen input. There are a number of survey methods that are available to do public outreach. It's been amazing to me and a little bit mind-boggling over the last several weeks how many new technologies I've been exposed to. Kind of makes my head spin a little bit some days, but there are a lot of different ways for us to reach the public, and I think that's really coming to light through this situation.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Allison, clarify for me the data collection part. You said primarily that would take you up. Well, that's not meeting with people, right?
No,
the data
so
collection. So I mean,
right,
part
and
of it is the community gatherings wouldn't be until after the first of the year almost.
yes, sir. Well, we would have we would usually have a community kickoff meeting just to introduce them to the project, but there are other ways that we can do that now given the situation that we're in. But you are correct, Commissioner Jamison, the bulk of the work that's done in the early part of this project is really data collection from the Water Management District, from the Department of Transportation, from the statutory changes that have happened specifically directly related to planning, from any other studies that you have already done that have happened between your last full update and where you are, where we are right now. Population projections from the Office of the Demographic or Economic and Demographic Research. I mean, there are a lot of things that we gather that don't involve any human contact. I think that's why going to this situation here is easy for us planners because we're nose down in the books most of the time. But you are accurate. There is it's heavy driven on data collection at the beginning, so that when we turn around and we present something out to you, we have the basis for why we're making the recommendations that we're making.
Right. I just want to make sure I appreciate Commissioner Lavin's deal as far as a group. I just wanted, when you were laying out the plan, and the reason I just wanted to, explain that a little bit is, it seemed to me when you were saying it, the very first part of it was simply getting data and not really meeting. So that wasn't as important as later on, which would then talk to what Nancy was referring to. I don't know if we're not going to do anything on this one here. I like for Angela. I mean, I would like Jennifer to get with Joel. I mean, and I have no issue with approving this with the understanding that they can talk to each of us individually, which they can do, and tell us where the money's coming from. Because I do think that's an issue. I mean, we need to do it, but you're looking at 60 grand, and then you put 60 grand in the next budget. When you come around to the budget time, you can actually budget that. Hopefully you'll get a grant this year, which could offset the money. But
Mr. Mayor, if I may just add on to that, that is a common practice that we have have seen and have used, and I can point you to the city of Flagler Beach that we're working in right now. We're updating their land development code, and the contract that we had approved with them was broken into phases for that very reason, so that it was split over a couple of different fiscal years. So I would be more than willing to make that a condition, and we can revise the contract if you want us to lock that in, that it's, you know, split between those 2 years. We're happy to do that for you if that gives you a level of comfort.
Allison, one other thing, if you and I could talk about and think about, is it in your April date of 2021 would get extended such that we would be in the grant potential for the second part of the project? Is that in the realm of possibility even?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
So unfortunately, what happens if you don't comply with submitting your full update by that date is it stops the city from being allowed to process any comprehensive plan amendments. So any citizen that wants to do a comprehensive plan amendment, you will not be allowed to do anything until you then come in compliance with state law, because now you're out of compliance with the state. So I would suspect that if you were out of compliance, getting additional grant monies to fix that is probably not going to be high on their award list.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have another question, Mayor. I'm sorry. So if we apply for a grant, Allison, would you do that for us, or does city staff need to do that? If that grant cycle opens May 1st, how long is it open for, and who applies for that grant?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So we can put that grant application together for you. That is something that we do. We do it on a regular basis for communities. Alternatively, the city could put the application together themselves, although I know that you're a little short-staffed in the planning department these days. That grant cycle typically opens May 1st and historically has been open for a 30-day period. Last year, the state threw us a curveball and left the cycle open for 10 days. So we had very little turnaround time to be able to put together applications and get those in the door to DEO, to the Department of Economic Opportunity, for their consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Allison?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the usually your charge for preparing the grant?
The grant application, we charge $2,250 to put that particular grant application together.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So do those funds come out of the grant? Or that's,
The funds can, I'm responding to you. I had
Yeah.
looked away, so I didn't
okay.
see who asked the question. Pardon me. The funds cannot be used to pay for the grant preparation. It has to be used for the project.
Yes. Okay.
Allison, if they throw us another curveball from DEO, what would, and shorten the time frame from 30 to 10 days like they did, how much lead time would we know if the state did that?
The day they publish the grant cycle, we
Okay.
wouldn't have any lead time. The best information that they'll give anybody right now is that it's going to open on or about May the 1st, and to keep an eye out on the website. We just know that they did that last year. I would suspect that that's probably what they will do this year again. As Alyssa mentioned during their presentation earlier, DEO staff has been repurposed, if you will, to address the COVID-19. They are part of the, God bless them, the crew that's helping with the SBA loans. And it's just, it's incredible the things that they're taking care of right now. And the fact that they're even still moving forward with the regular duties of the Department of Economic Opportunity is pretty impressive. So I would be surprised if they extend that. It's tied to the fiscal year for them is July 1st to June 30th. And so they have to get through, have an opportunity to be able to review the applications and then make their award determinations in what's fairly a short amount of time for them. And I would suspect now, given this situation, they're going to prefer to have the 6-week time frame that they had last year, as opposed to the couple week time frame that they historically had given themselves.
Question. Allison, how long, tell me again, how long is the process once you start it, by the time you do the data and then you do the community meetings and so forth? What, from point one to the end, time frame, how many months?
Typically, when we do a comprehensive plan update, if it was up to us, we would request 12 months, 12 full months. The city has not done their EAR yet, which is their formal, like all the data and analysis. You're doing yours collectively at the same time as you're going to do your comprehensive plan update. So it kind of gets compressed a little bit more, but we've done it this way before and we can do it this way. We did it for the city of Williston 3 years ago, did it all at the same time. So we can do it in 12 months. I would start getting concerned if you're shortening it much beyond that.
Well, the reason I asked that question is if you were to go out for bid, that's going to take you 2 months. By the time you go out and you advertise and then you do it and then you approve it and then you do 2 weeks later and you approve it. I mean, if we're in a time crunch, I mean, and I agree as far as the money deal, we're really not in position. And also the thing of it is statutorily what you said is this has to be done by April 7th of 2021 in a year. So we're looking at multiple deadlines here as far as going out for bid, bringing somebody in, having them start from scratch, but knowing that it has to be done in a year. 2 months of that minimum is going to be just within the bid process and the awarding of the bid. So I think that's gonzo's. I think from my perspective and everybody else, I know I'm sort of talking too much on this one here. I think the city needs Jennifer and the Mr. Corsi needs to get together tomorrow. And I think they need to look at the money. And I mean, I'm in agreement on this one here, approve it. To approve this as long as the funds are there. And Jennifer and Joel, they can do an individual phone call to each of us and let us know tomorrow that this is where the money's coming from. This is how we're going to pay for it. Byron, excuse me, Mayor, you've been on this thing with me. We've been talking about a comprehensive plan for
too long.
I'm just saying that was one of the things when I got on this thing, they were talking about we had to get it. So I know we're going to have some more comments. I would propose that we basically agree it pending approval of the funds being found, and then each of us giving our approval verbally. Thank you all for listening.
So, and that's basically, we're talking about the 60,000, Allison, now?
I'd be happy to split the contract for you that way and lay it out in a similar fashion like we've done in other places such as Flagler Beach, if that's the request of the commission.
Jennifer, that'll kind of help you, Annie?
Yeah. Definitely would help a little bit there.
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing is, could we add to that to give permission for the staff to go ahead and have Allison's team apply for that grant for us on May 1st? I think we need to authorize that as well.
Yes. So Jennifer, we have funds for that?
It's coming out of
we're gonna have to. I mean, I know right off the top of my head, you know, where there's a couple of potential money. There's the 75,000 that we transfer every year to our reserve. There is the contingency money of 100,000, and then we also, now I don't know, like I know we're using Allison for our planning services. Whether that kind of saves us money instead of hiring a planner until October 1, there's potentially a little bit of money there.
Okay. You're working on it.
I mean, I know, you know, we do that transfer, you know, it is for, the restricted amount is money that you, as a commission can determine if you want to use it. It's 75,000 every year. If instead of being 75,000, we only transfer 15. Or we take it from contingency, and if we don't have enough in contingency, then we use whatever's left towards the reserve, if that makes sense. So right now we have 100,000 in contingency this budget. And then we also have a 75,000 where what we put to a restricted amount. If we can come up with 60 in the contingency, then we just go ahead and transfer the 75 to the restricted, and we just keep it in current budget. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can try it that way. And then if there isn't, because we may have shortfall, I don't know, we may not see the revenues of shortfall until in the fall and probably early next year. That might be where we see it. Then we would be able to use all of the, you know, we would take it out of contingency, all of it.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do the same thing. I think Joel, I mean, I'll make the same recommendation I did, and add in what Nancy said as far as the 2250. I still sit there. I mean, I'm gonna still sit there and go, you and Joel tell us what the deal is, what you're suggesting, then call us tomorrow and you can get a voice over the phone from each of us on a yay or nay. I mean, that's what I would suggest, but you guys come with a concrete plan on how you're going to do it. And then we can give you a yay or nay over the phone. But I would put forth the motion that we approve it per confirmation with the funding.
I'll second that motion, and along with the authorization to allow Allison's team to apply for the grant first with the additional cost.
Okay. You got that, Jenny?
You're muted, Jen. There you go.
I just,
There you go.
yes, sir. Angela's typing it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's why I can't see her face.
Mhm. She's working.
Working. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
Mayor, I'll go
Yes.
ahead and repeat the motion as I understand it. I'll kind of be what I believe is the motion on the floor, and then the moving commissioners can tell me if I'm right or wrong. First of all, the city's approving the authorization to go forward with Kimley Horn, applying for the grant at a cost of $2,250. That's the first part of the motion. Second part of the motion is to approve individual project order number 4 to be split not to exceed $60,000 in the fiscal year of 2020. And second portion of the individual project order number 4 to be paid and not to exceed the fee as listed on page 4. The second portion of the fees not to exceed the other half of what is listed on page 4 for the second part of the project. And that Jennifer and Joel DeCourcy will report back to the commissioners that we have the money. There's a contingency on this motion and approval of the contract that if Jennifer and Joel say we don't have the money, then the contract is not approved. If they say, look, we have the money, we've budgeted it, we've been able to modify our budget such that and Jennifer, of course, will come back with the amendments to the budget before we have the end of the fiscal year to show where the money's been moved to pay for this. If they come back and say, no, we do not have this money, we cannot find the money, then the contract would not be approved. So that's what I believe the motion is that is on the floor, Mr. Mayor.
And also the part with the 2,000 something for the grant?
Yes,
Am I
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, you know, this, as I look at this, as she said, we must be in compliance by April the 19th, 2021. Am I correct? That
It
was
was April 7th, wasn't it? Or April 9th?
April the 9th, sir.
April, I'm sorry. I didn't put my glasses on. April the 9th. Okay. So I just want to bring that point up. It's something we need to get done. We don't have to get it done, but we won't be in compliance
Right.
at time.
The only thing I would add, Mr. Walker, is I would like to know on the phone call when they call me, not whether we have the money or not. I want to know where it's coming from. Just don't say we've got the money. I want to know where it's coming from.
You good, John?
I just want to add that in there. And when the phone call comes up, this is what we're recommending. This is where we're going to transfer the funds from. And then we know then where it's coming from, not just a shell game.
But you're not going to take it from legal, right?
That's a good idea. We didn't think about that.
I would, we'll all take a vote.
Thank you, Scott.
We'll take a vote on that now.
Oh no, hey man, help us out. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank
All right,
you
thank
all
you.
very much.
You're welcome. Jennifer, we'll hear from you guys tomorrow. You kind of gave us an idea which way you was going, so
Yeah.
forward to hearing you tomorrow. Okay? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you. And Jennifer, I guess I'll just wait to hear from you tomorrow as well, too.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
No
You're
problem.
welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, item number 3. Discuss regarding to online payment fees and possible support to local businesses and residents. Item
Ms.
number
Jennifer.
3.
Ms. Jennifer.
I think that this was brought up, I'm not sure who put this on the agenda, but one of the things that we have done with the online payment fees, we have reduced them. They're normally $350 and we've reduced them to $250. And we've not really had that, I have not had any people that have complained to me. They also have the ability to drop their payment in the payment box. We are not charging any late fees. We did not charge let me go back. In March, we did not charge any the disconnect fee, the $25. The month of April, we did not charge the service charge of $10 or the disconnect fee of $25 in interest. And we also reduced the fee to use credit cards.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I have heard a lot of comments about City Hall being closed and that it wasn't, you know, we shouldn't be charging that online fee. And I understand that's a fee to us. My question is that something that through FEMA or something that we could get reimbursed as collateral damage for the fact that we had to close down operations to protect our staff?
I don't see how that would be a viable expense because there's other options of paying the bill. There's mail-in, there's drop-off. It is the customer's choice to use the online payment. We have gone in there on a regular basis and collected all the payments out of the payment box. I don't, you know, Commissioner Lavin, I can look into it and I can ask, go on the listserv and ask my other constituents, if but I just don't think that's a legitimate expense for us to request FEMA to reimburse us for fees that we choose not to collect.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
they have to understand too, that if we take these fees, the city, if we pay for them, it's got to come from somewhere. I mean, eventually the taxpayers are going to pay for it one way or the other. I mean, because we don't have a fund where we can just pull from that doesn't need to be replaced by some money. I've seen complaints too about why are we charging $350 and now it's $250 for online payment. But again, I agree with Jennifer. They can mail it in, they can drop it off at the box. So I see no reason to do away with it totally, my opinion.
And the late fees too, just so you know,
Right.
the late fees that we've not collected are probably close to $10,000.
Wow.
So just to put that in perspective.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, personally, I can see if that's the only choice you had of
Right.
paying your bill, yes. But I have seen lines out there dropping off in the drop box.
Yeah.
I don't know how often you guys check it, but it's been a line out there. And you can't mail it in because, yeah. So we got to remember we still have to pay our bills also.
That's right.
So I don't know. And Jennifer, I'm not. Is there a way you tell where the majority of the people paying at? Is there a way of doing that, Jennifer?
We do have a lot of people that are paying online. Yes, we do.
That's a convenience though. I mean,
it is. It is. Honestly, I don't think it's any more. I would have to go back and check. I don't think it's a whole lot more than normal. Like I said, we get a ton of payments through that Dropbox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
you get mine.
Ours
Me
too.
And
When I dropped mine off, there was a line there too, Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Yeah, it sure was.
You have fees. I had to pay for classes today. Tomorrow's the deadline. I pay for my classes. When I first signed up, it was $45 to sign up for the service. But each time I make a payment with that through the college, it's $15 a fee.
Wow.
The first fee was $40 just to sign up. But each time I pay it, each time I do the little payment plan, I have to give them an extra $15.
Wow.
Whatever that fee is. So fees out there. That's the time we're living in because we're doing everything electronic.
We have to pay for it.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. We love to help them, but I was reduce my bill. Windscreen, reduce it, please. I don't know. Okay, we're moving on. And
Mayor,
yes,
the other citizen that contacted the city was regarding this item. It was Tina Corbett. She said she would like for the commission to keep in mind that the stimulus packet that went out for businesses is mainly for payroll. And some of the businesses in town do not have employees. They run it themselves. So that packet was no help to them at all. So she just wanted the commission to be aware of that.
yes. I'm in that situation. Unless y'all want to give me a stimulus package. Scott, you ain't saying nothing, Scott.
No.
Don't smile.
There was another item about a leash law. Don't we have a leash law?
The county's got one which addresses everything.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna bring it up at the end.
It tells you exactly on the deal. I think the whole thing in all this money deal, and I think Jennifer spoke about it, is we don't know what the sales tax and gas tax, the revenue, and And I think we've got to be careful. I'd love to be able to go out there and do it, but we got to be able to make sure, because we're paying our employees and we've got bills. So I think to a degree, we have to be careful. I understand it. I wish we could do it. But we got to make darn sure we can pay our own bills and employees and take care of them also.
Right.
So I think waiving some of the late fees and everything, I mean,
That's been,
I think that's probably huge. If you're telling me 10 grand, I mean, I would not have thought that much.
Yeah.
me either.
I wouldn't have thought that much.
Yeah. And I'm quite sure some people gonna play it late now because, hey, I'm not gonna be charged now, so.
Well, I mean, I think we got to look, because if that's the deal and people are listening to this deal right here, then why would I pay?
Yes.
I mean,
They'll
I'm
hold
just
up on
saying, I'm not
purpose.
trying to be whatever. I'm just talking. If you're out there, if I know you're not charging me anything, then why am I worried about it?
Yes.
Right.
I think we need to look at that at some point in time. I think you're going to need to look at that too and make sure it's not being abused.
Right.
We intend to, when the city opens back up, that's something that the manager and I will go through and determine when to start that and see who it is. We know the people, we know who they
Okay.
are. So we know the regulars.
Okay, I'm just saying, I mean, anything like that, you don't want it to be abused.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion on item number 3? Are you done, Nancy?
Thank you. I appreciate the conversation about it.
Okay. All right, item number 4, discuss the possible installation of a drive-through payment, one at City Hall.
That was put on there because I mentioned it. And I only mention it because it's the same context of the preceding item. It was mentioned to me several times, specifically because there were citizens that needed to update their tags and they couldn't do it. And several of them had called about it and asked, Gloria, will you bring this up for us? So that's why that's on there, for that reason. I just wanted to get opinion from the commission as to what you thought about it.
Yeah.
But like I said, the way I see it, it's the same situation as the previous one.
Yeah.
We used to have a drive-in window a long time ago over on the.
Right, I understand.
side
Yeah,
of City Hall.
Jenny told me you had one there at one time.
Many years ago. The reason they moved it, I don't know, Jenny, but I know it wasn't convenient enough. But most time when my mom tried to put it in there, it was awkward. It was very awkward. Very awkward.
Somebody told me it was dismantled because you needed extra parking space.
And probably that too, but it sure was hard. It was awkward. And I'm not trying to throw no business nowhere else, but I know on certain days, Columbia County, Fort White, either Columbia County or Lake Buck, one of the two. They're still open on certain days. So that'll help somebody out. They can go over there.
And they can also
probably during this particular situation, they were probably closed too. And that's when, because of the virus, it's what resurfaced this situation.
But no, they open on certain days, I think. Lake Butler, I heard Lake Butler. I'm not for sure. Do Columbia County, Fort White?
I think Trenton's open, I heard. The place.
Trenton, yeah.
Trenton.
I heard Lake Butler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there also is the option to renew online as well.
Yes.
And also, Mr. Mayor, they have extended and waived some of those requirements for renewing your tag and licenses.
Okay.
I know when I checked into it, it was extended for 30 days. And then when I was talking to the city manager the other day, he said they had extended for an additional 30 days for a total of 60. So things should be back to normal by then. Yeah. Well, not normal. Don't use that word.
Normal.
No, let's not use that word. But we should be back to work.
It's just, we're in a time right now that nothing Just go
Well,
with the
I've
flow.
done what I was asked to do,
Yes,
and I'm
That's
good with it.
good, yeah.
I'm good with it.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, anything else on that? City Attorney, reports and update. Mr. Walker, he ran away.
Yeah.
You're trying to turn it on there. You need to call Scott back.
They're muted, Byron.
I know. I'm trying to get. There you go.
Got it.
Give him a
All
hand.
that to report that the city attorney doesn't have anything to report.
All right. Thank you, sir. City Manager.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, it's great to see everyone and continue to appreciate the support that we're getting from the board, the commission, as well as the citizens. And our employees are doing the best, their due diligence to make sure the city stay whole and staying safe and staying home. And again, I know money is tight, but we appreciate all that you're doing to keep High Springs. And we're doing what we need to do. We're gonna have a lot of folks are getting fed. There's a lot of people out there hungry, don't have jobs or money coming in, but we're having a lot of citizens and communities coming together and committees coming together to feed the people. So
Yes.
people are getting fed, and we're doing everything with the rec department, the fire department, police department. For those that are sick and shed in, we're delivering it directly to them. So for our senior citizens and the ones that are at risk, we're making sure they get the food that they need to sustain their families. We're in perilous times. And again, we want to make sure that we stay informed, the city stay whole. Kevin has done a tremendous job of keeping update with information on our website. He's a great asset, as well as all the employees are doing their due diligence to make sure we get back where we need to be. So I appreciate that. Thank you for all your patience and understanding, and the citizens. We'll get there. We're working on it. So God bless you. That's it.
All right. I'm gonna go out a little way here. Mr. Chief of Police, you have anything you'd like to say, Calvin?
No, I appreciative of all your support. The police department has assisted with many of the food drives, and we've taken a lot of precautions. We've worked well with the fire department and other city departments, so we appreciate the support. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Is Kevin there, Jenny? Is Kevin there? Oh, there
Yes,
he
sir,
is.
I'm here. I have nothing to add. I appreciate the accolades from the manager, and I appreciate you putting your faith in me to serve the city. And I look forward to doing it for a long time to come.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Lavin?
Yes, I want to thank our staff. Our parks have been kept up. Our utilities, our public works are taking care of things. The evidence of that. Our police and fire department have been busy, including doing birthday parades for children that don't understand why we're in lockdown. I just have seen so much happening behind the scenes. I wanted to bring up something a resident asked me about, whether we would consider doing some sort of a parade for our seniors that aren't going to have a graduation, the people that live in High Springs, maybe towards the end of May around the Civic Center or somewhere publicly, that we could have our citizens come out and recognize our seniors. The other thing is the dog issue, the leash law. Over in the Northwest neighborhood, there's a real problem with a lot of dogs that are loose. I personally have been attacked by a dog over here, and it happens every time I walk. So maybe more enforcement, and I'm not sure how to make that happen, but I've stopped walking because I'm afraid of the dogs, and I have dogs. So that person had, I believe his wife was bit by a dog. And it is becoming a real serious problem over in the Northwest neighborhood. The other issue that a person called in to Jenny about was the northwest streets. I believe that Mr. DeCoursey is probably going to be bringing us something with our budget preparation for a 3-year and a 5-year plan on street paving, because I know he was doing an assessment of that when he came on board last year. So for whoever that citizen was, am I correct with that, Mr. DeCoursey, that that's something we'll be looking at in budget time to start to look at a long-term plan for those roads?
Yes, ma'am. Our priority list, that was already in existence, but we're going to continue that and move forward.
Okay, thank you so much. And it's good to see all of you guys tonight. I missed you.
Okay, Commissioner Jameson.
Jones.
Jameson.
You say me?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make sure if people didn't know, and I'm making this comment as an employee with the school board, is we had to find an alternative site for the school bus to go out and bring Wi-Fi into the neighborhood. And I got on the phone, I talked with the chief, I talked with the city manager, and literally within like 10, 15 minutes, we had the people redirected from the previous one and over at the museum. The old school is what they're going to do it at Monday through Friday, 1 to 4 o'clock. It was just awesome. As we're wanting to make sure we highlight the good things that are going on in this time. That was an extremely good thing out of a phone call, and it was done. And that's to benefit the kids specifically, and parents and families here in High Springs who don't have Wi-Fi. So I want to just make sure everybody here knew that they acted quickly and promptly and got it done. And they've been there for the last couple of days already. So I just want to make sure, if you didn't know that, to applaud both of them. That was a great service to the kids going to the school.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, there was a couple of articles in the paper today that were Theological today that were very interesting. One was the Wi-Fi, that they went into detail as to where the schools were and what was going on. Not having children at home, I don't keep up with that as much, but the newspaper article was really good. Also, our recreational department, Damon and his staff have done a really good job, continue to do a good job in the upkeep of our different areas. So both of those were really good articles. I too want to thank everyone, the fire department, police department, all those people who are the churches who are providing for people who need the help. I think it's wonderful the way they have come together to help out those in need. I do want to point out that you may want to pay attention to the weather. It looks like we're going to have some bad weather tonight and tomorrow. So kind of keep your ears tuned to that and be prepared. And it is good to see everybody. I miss all my friends and the commissioners. It's really tough, but that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor.
Hey, Scott, we got a tornado warning. Take shelter now.
Hey, we got a tornado warning just came over the phone, Byron.
Yeah,
Joe, you did that.
You found out? Oh my gosh.
that's right. I was going to tell you when you mentioned it, I can hear it thundering outside right now. It's not lightning just yet, but I can hear the thunder.
Hey, I'm checking out. See you.
Bye-bye.
But I too just want to say it's good to see all you beautiful faces.
Yeah.
I miss seeing you. Absolutely. And two, thank you to all of you for all that you do to help keep High Springs up and running. I really appreciate it. And I know that there's the majority of us appreciate it. We've got that few that will complain one way or the other, but we know that you are there and we know that you're doing well and we appreciate what you do. That's it for me tonight. I'm being quiet.
All right, thank you, man. A few things that's put on the list, Jenny and Mr. Manager. I know they mentioned about this economic development. Jenny, we used to have that Main Street program. You know, when some other commissions came along, it kind of
Right.
went away. You know, I was a part of that when we got awarded that Main Street program. Are they still in existence? I know there was a nonprofit organization. Are they still in existence, Jenny? Or do you know?
Yes, sir. Oh,
Okay. Yes, Nancy.
The CDC is a nonprofit and it's still active, but it's not functioning. And the Main Street program was grant from the state.
Right.
And we don't have it right now, but there are some grants out there for a reinstatement of a Main Street program. And there's another nonprofit, the Heart of High Springs, that might be willing down the road if we wanted to look at that. That's been a conversation so that maybe we could help facilitate that, okay? I have some information I got about 6 months ago on that I can forward to the city manager to get to you.
Okay. Thank you. Something to look into again. Also, she mentioned it in the economic, we used to have, I know it went away, the youth council, because we really need to start getting our youth involved again. Mr. City Manager, we had a youth counselor, and I never forget it when we was going through the aggravation about the skate park, where they was doing the skate things. It was the young people that recommended close that. It wasn't us. It wasn't us. They made the recommendation for us to close because they was abusing the parks. So maybe something we can look into again, getting our youth involved with city government.
Yes, sir.
Here and the young people.
Not to cut you off, Mr. Mayor, but they said a tornado is a warning from 925 to be hitting High Springs.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. Yeah. Okay.
The
It's a good thing we
tornado
home.
is supposed to be here.
Come through about 925 in our area, the High Springs area.
All right.
So that's a good thing we're not at City Hall.
Right. Well, we do have some, and we should thank those who are at City Hall.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, you too, Kevin.
I see you, Kevin. Couple more things here. I'm gonna close. Do we have a list of land available in High Springs? I know one time we talked about that one time before. Me and Mr. Booth was going over and talked with I think that was a lottery chamber of commerce or somebody we used to go talk, and that's one of the recommendations that they made.
City property or just property?
No, just property.
That's readily available on like realtor.com and all. I mean, we could make some kind of connection to it on the website.
County,
for people
yeah, the
concerned.
county property appraiser's office.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, because I know they remember that when they're talking about advertising that stuff, we ought to have a list of lands that's available in the area. That's a possibility for businesses to come in, but may that be part of that economic development program and still happen with that. The only thing else is the city of
I can tell you, let me tell you one good thing. Since you mentioned land, it reminded me. There's a couple in the office that I go to over in Gainesville, and they had recently moved here. And they were talking to me about finding a place, some land over here in High Springs so they can build a house for them. And the reason they said they wanted to come over here because ever since they've been here, they have heard nothing but good things about High Springs. They don't want to be in Gainesville. They don't want to be in Alachua. They want to be in High Springs. So High Springs is making a name for itself. I want you to know that because they moved here from Kentucky and they are looking to relocate in High Springs.
Okay, wonderful.
Very good information.
Yes,
yes, indeed.
Okay, another thing I have is we're gonna have a food giveaway, the city of High Springs, and that'll be May the 9th. That's a Saturday. This is gonna be a city giveaway. This for the city. We're gonna do this as a city. So we're acting that all city employees get involved with this. And again, it's to be Saturday, May the 9th, 2020. At 9. Well, we start the truck at 7, but the food giveaway will start at 9 a.m. And what this one is, we won't have to be checking names. They don't have to sign in. All they do is just drive through. and make it
All
much
right.
quicker and get them out of there.
Good.
But y'all should be getting the flyer soon on that, and the manager begin with the staff. But this is High Springs, the City of High Springs food giveaway through Farm Share.
All
So
right.
it'd be nice to see all your commissioners out there for this giveaway, if you can make it.
I'll be there.
All right, but she'll begin the flyer pretty soon on that. Am I right, Jenny?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to say thank you to all the staff for what y'all doing. This is a rough time, believe me, I know.
Yes.
I have 3 in the house right about now. If anybody want to take them for a little while, you're more than happy to. Wouldn't get a fuss from me. I'm tired of being in the house. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm tired of this.
Yes. Yes.
Being in the house. I'm so tired. I've been out and cut some trees down just to get out to get some fresh air. But it is what it is. But this too should pass. So I just want to say y'all keep up the good work. If anything I can do, please call on me because I am at home.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we've had one citizen made a comment to state when the next commission meeting will be, and that will be May 14th. At this time, I don't know if it will be held this way or if it'll be in person yet, but the next scheduled meeting date is May 14th.
Okay. All righty. Anything else need to come before us?
Jenny, you and Angela need to get home.
Yes.
And Kevin.
It's starting to
That's
thunder.
right.
Yeah,
Okay. Until motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Motion to adjourn. Scott left us already.
Yeah,
Good night,
Yeah.
y'all. Be safe.
bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.